The alarm bells rang through the massive space station like thunder. Ambassador Zethkari dropped his morning meal and rushed to the control room. His tall, blue-skinned frame moved quickly down the metal hallways. Other council members were already gathering, their faces showing worry and confusion. "What is happening?" Zethkari asked as he entered the main chamber. The room was filled with floating screens showing star maps and data streams. Red lights blinked everywhere. Counselor Myrex, whose silver robot body gleamed under the lights, turned to face him. "We have detected something impossible," the machine said in its cold voice. "A primitive species has achieved faster than light travel." Zethkari laughed. "That cannot be right. Check your sensors again." "I have checked them 57 times, Myrex replied. "The readings are correct. A ship from the planet Earth is approaching our space at incredible speed." The other council members gathered around the main display screen. Admiral Korth, a massive creature with 4 arms and thick gray skin, pointed at the moving dot on the star map. "This makes no sense. According to our records, these humans only left their planet less than 100 years ago. They barely had spaceflight." Dr. Yilla, whose plant-like body swayed as she moved, checked her datapad. "Our last survey of Earth was only 50 years ago. They had primitive rockets and could barely reach their own moon. How could they develop light-speed travel so quickly?" The room fell silent as everyone stared at the screen. The human ship was moving faster than it should be possible. Ships that moved at such speeds needed special shields and advanced technology that took thousands of years to develop. "Maybe it is a trick," suggested Counselor Vex, whose insect-like eyes clicked as he spoke. "Perhaps another species is helping them." Myrex's robot head shook. "Negative. The ship design is clearly human, crude but functional. I'm reading high levels of nuclear radiation and electromagnetic interference. Their propulsion system appears to be improvised." "Improvised?" Admiral Korth's 4 eyes widened. "You mean they built this without proper plans?" "That is what the data suggests. The ship should have torn itself apart at these speeds, yet somehow it remains intact." Ambassador Zethkari felt a cold fear in his stomach. In all his 300 years of life, he had never seen anything like this. The Galactic Council had existed for over 10,000 years. Every species that joined had followed the same path. First, they developed spaceflight. Then, over many centuries, they slowly learned the secrets of faster-than-light travel. It was a careful process that required patience, wisdom, and advanced understanding of physics. But these humans had apparently skipped all of that. "Show me their planet again," Zethkari ordered. The screen changed to show Earth, a blue and green world orbiting a yellow star. It looked peaceful and beautiful, but also very young compared to the ancient worlds of the Council. "They are still fighting wars among themselves," Dr. Yilla reported, reading from her files. "They have not achieved global unity. They pollute their own air and water. By all our standards, they should not be ready for space travel for at least another 1,000 years. Yet here they are," Admiral Korth said grimly, "moving through space faster than some of our best ships." The tension in the room grew thicker. The Council had very strict rules about first contact. New species were carefully watched and slowly introduced to galactic civilization. It was a process that could take centuries. "But these humans were forcing their hand. What do we do?" asked Counselor Vex, his wings buzzing nervously. Zethkari looked around the room at the faces of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. The Council represented over 200 different species from across thousands of star systems. They had seen many strange things, but nothing quite like this. "We follow protocol," he said finally. "We prepare for first contact." "But they are not ready," Dr. Yilla protested. "They are too primitive, too violent. What if they are dangerous?" Admiral Korth's massive fist hit the table. "Let them come. If they mean trouble, my fleet will be ready." "No violence unless absolutely necessary," Zethkari warned. "We are not barbarians. We will meet them peacefully and learn what we can." Myrex's mechanical voice cut through the discussion. "There is another problem. The human ship is not following standard approach patterns. They appear to be exploring." "Exploring what?" Zethkari asked. The screen showed the human ship's path through space. Instead of coming directly to the Council station, it was moving in a strange zigzag pattern, stopping at different points along the way. "They are scanning everything," Myrex reported. "Every planet, every asteroid, every space station in their path. They seem very curious. Or they are gathering intelligence for an attack," Admiral Korth growled. I do not think so, Dr. Yila said softly. Look at their scanning patterns. They are not looking for weapons or defenses. They seem interested in everything. Plants, animals, minerals, even our art and music broadcasts. Zeth Kari studied the data. The humans were indeed scanning everything they could find, but it did not look like military intelligence gathering. It looked more like the behavior of excited children in a new playground. How long until they reach us? He asked. At their current speed, approximately 6 hours, Myrex calculated, but that assumes they continue their current erratic course. Send them a message, Zeth Kari decided. Use the standard first contact protocol. Welcome them and invite them to meet at the neutral zone. Myrex's fingers moved over the control panel. Message sent. However, I should warn you that they may not understand our communication methods. They waited for a response. Minutes passed slowly. The room was quiet except for the humming of machines and the soft breathing of the various species present. Then, suddenly, the communication panel lit up with activity. We are receiving a response, Myrex announced, his voice showing surprise. Multiple responses, actually. They are broadcasting on 17 different frequency bands. What are they saying? Zeth Kari asked. Myrex paused for a moment as he processed the incoming data. They are greeting us in 43 different languages, including several council languages that should be classified. The room erupted in shocked voices. How could the humans know classified council languages? They are saying, hello, we come in peace, and thank you for the welcome, and... Myrex paused again. They are asking if we would like to trade recipes. Recipes? Admiral Korth looked confused. For food preparation? Myrex explained. They seem very excited about the possibility of trying alien cuisine. Zeth Kari felt his world spinning. In all his years of diplomatic service, he had never encountered anything like this. The humans were not behaving like any species he had ever met. They were not cautious or formal or scared. They seemed happy. Prepare the neutral meeting station, he ordered, and alert all department heads. I have a feeling this first contact is going to be very different from anything we have experienced before. As the council members hurried to their tasks, Zeth Kari stared at the screen showing the approaching human ship. Such a small vessel carrying such a primitive species, yet somehow it had achieved the impossible. What other surprises might these humans have in store for them? The neutral meeting station floated in empty space, its white walls gleaming under the distant stars. Ambassador Zeth Kari stood in the main docking bay, wearing his finest ceremonial robes. Behind him stood the other council representatives, each dressed in their species' most formal attire. They had prepared everything perfectly. Ancient songs played softly in the background. Beautiful flowers from dozens of worlds decorated the chamber. Translators were ready. Gifts were arranged on golden tables. The ceremony had been used for first contact with new species for over 3,000 years. Remember, Zeth Kari said to the others, we must be patient with them. They are very primitive. They may not understand our customs. Admiral Korth adjusted his military medals. My ships are standing by just in case. That will not be necessary, Dr. Yila said, her leaf-like hair rustling. The scans show only one small ship. What harm could they do? Suddenly, the station's alert system activated. Incoming ship detected, the computer announced. Docking in 30 seconds. Zeth Kari straightened his robes one last time. This was it. First contact with the humans. The docking bay doors opened with a soft hiss. Everyone held their breath, waiting to see the primitive human vessel. What flew in was nothing like they expected. The ship was small and blocky, with mismatched parts welded together in ways that hurt their eyes to look at. Smoke and steam leaked from various joints. Strange symbols were painted on its sides in bright colors. It looked more like something a child might build from spare parts than a proper spacecraft. But it was flying, and it had crossed vast distances of space to reach them. The ship settled onto the landing platform with several loud bangs and a shower of sparks. The engines continued to smoke even after they shut down. Is it supposed to do that? Counselor Vex asked nervously. Before anyone could answer, a section of the ship's wall simply fell outward with a crash, creating a makeshift ramp. Thick smoke poured out of the opening. Sorry about that, a voice called from inside the smoke. The door is still a bit sticky. 3 figures emerged from the smoke, waving their hands to clear the air. They were clearly human, bipedal with pink skin and hair on their heads. They wore simple blue uniforms with various patches and badges. The lead human was a female with short brown hair and bright eyes. She looked around the docking bay with obvious excitement. "Wow," she said loudly. "This place is amazing. Look at those decorations." Zethkari blinked. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. Where was the fear? The caution? The formal speeches? The human female walked directly up to him, extending her hand. "Hi there. I'm Captain Sarah Chen. Thanks so much for the invitation. We've been looking forward to this meeting for weeks." Zethkari stared at the extended hand, not sure what to do with it. In his confusion, he simply touched it with his own blue-skinned hand. Captain Chen gripped his hand firmly and shook it up and down. "Great to meet you. This handshake thing is how humans show friendship. Sorry if it seems weird. You already know about our meeting customs?" Zethkari managed to ask. "Oh, we picked up your broadcasts while we were traveling," Chen said casually. "Took us a while to figure out your languages, but our computers are pretty good at pattern recognition. We've been studying your cultures for months." "Months?" Zethkari looked at the other council members in confusion. "But we only detected your ship yesterday." One of the other humans, a tall male with dark skin, laughed. "Oh, we've been in your space for quite a while now. We just didn't want to interrupt anything important." Seemed polite to look around quietly first. Admiral Korth stepped forward, his forearms tense. "You have been in council space without permission?" "Well, nobody told us we needed permission," the human said with a shrug. "We tried to contact you, but your communication system seemed pretty busy. So we just explored a bit while we waited." "Explored where?" Admiral Korth demanded. Captain Chen pulled out a small device and pressed some buttons. A holographic map appeared in the air, showing their route through council space. "Let's see," she said, pointing at various spots on the map. "We visited the Crystal Gardens on Veltar Prime. Beautiful place, by the way. Then we stopped by the orbital farms around Hegemony Station 7. Amazing engineering. After that, we checked out the art galleries on Myrex Colony." She continued listing locations, pointing to each one on the map. With each name, the council members looked more shocked and worried. "We tried not to bother anyone," Chen continued, "though we did help fix a broken water recycling system on Station 12. And we left some of our music files as a thank you gift at the library on New Crystalline." Dr. Yila's plant-like body trembled. "You had direct contact with our citizens?" "Just a few conversations," Chen said brightly. "Everyone was so friendly, though some of them seemed surprised to see us. I guess humans don't visit very often." The third human, a shorter female with red hair, stepped forward. "I'm Engineer Lisa Park. I have to say, your technology is fascinating. We learned so much just from watching how your systems work." "You studied our technology?" Myrex asked, his robot voice sharp with concern. "Oh, just the basic stuff," Park said. "Nothing classified or anything. Though I did notice some inefficiencies in your power distribution systems. Simple fixes, really. I left some suggestions with the engineering teams we met." Zethkari felt dizzy. The humans had spent months moving freely through council space, visiting their worlds, talking to their people, and studying their technology. All while the council had no idea they were there. "How is this possible?" he asked weakly. Captain Chen looked confused by his distress. "How is what possible?" "Your ship," Admiral Korth said, pointing at the smoking vessel. "It should not be able to cross interstellar distances. Your species is too primitive." "Primitive?" Chen laughed. "I guess we do things differently than most species. We're not very patient, so we tend to rush ahead when we get excited about something. But faster-than-light travel requires centuries of development," Dr. Yila protested. Engineer Park grinned. "Not if you're willing to try some crazy ideas. Our breakthrough came when we stopped trying to do it the right way and just focused on making it work." "What do you mean?" Myrex asked. "Well," Park said, "all the theoretical papers said it was impossible to create a stable warp field with our level of technology. So we decided to create an unstable one instead and just ride it out." The council members stared at her in horror. "You created an unstable warp field?" Dr. Yila gasped. "That should have killed you." "Yeah, the first few test flights were pretty rough," Park admitted. "But after we added more shielding and learned to compensate for the fluctuations, it worked pretty well." Captain Chen clapped her hands together. "Anyway, enough about us. We brought gifts." She gestured to her crew, who began pulling various items from their ship. They presented the council members with strange objects, colorful artwork, small machines that played music, containers of what they called coffee beans, and books filled with human stories and knowledge. We also have some questions, Chen continued. Like, how do you keep your space station so clean? And what's that amazing glowing fruit we saw on Veltar Prime? And would it be possible to set up some kind of cultural exchange program? Zethkari looked around at his fellow council members. They all wore expressions of complete bewilderment. The carefully planned first contact ceremony had become something entirely different. These humans were not at all what they had expected. They were not primitive or cautious or afraid. They were confident, curious, and completely unaware that they had just turned the galactic order upside down. Perhaps, Zethkari said slowly, we should continue this discussion in a more private setting. Captain Chen nodded enthusiastically. Absolutely. We have so much to talk about. The council's main meeting chamber had never felt so tense. Ambassador Zethkari sat at the curved table, surrounded by representatives from the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. Across from them sat 3 humans in their simple blue uniforms, completely relaxed and sipping something they called coffee from metal cups. Let me understand this correctly, Zethkari began, his voice careful and controlled. You achieved faster than light travel in only 30 years of research? Captain Chen nodded, taking another sip of her coffee. Actually, it was more like 25 years. But we had a lot of help from science fiction writers. They gave us some wild ideas to work with. Dr. Yila's leaf-like hair rustled with confusion. Science fiction writers? People who write stories about imaginary futures, Engineer Park explained. They're not scientists, but they think of crazy possibilities that real scientists might not consider. Counselor Mirex's robot head tilted. You based your research on fictional stories? Not entirely, Park laughed. But they helped us think outside the box. Most of our breakthrough came from combining ideas that weren't supposed to work together. Admiral Korth leaned forward with his forearms crossed. Explain your propulsion system. Park's eyes lit up with excitement. Oh, it's actually pretty simple once you get past the impossibility of it. We basically created a bubble of twisted space around our ship, then used controlled nuclear explosions to push the bubble forward. The council members exchanged horrified glances. Nuclear explosions? Dr. Yila gasped. Inside your ship? Well, not exactly inside, Park said. More like right behind it. The trick is timing the explosions just right so they push instead of destroy. Myrex ran rapid calculations through his computer brain. The radiation exposure alone should be fatal. Yeah, that was a problem at first, Park admitted. We lost a few test pilots before we figured out the shielding. But once we added enough lead plates and magnetic deflectors, it worked fine. You lost test pilots? Admiral Korth's voice was sharp with shock. Captain Chen waved her hand dismissively. Only 3. And they volunteered, knowing the risks. We built monuments to honor them on Earth. Zethkari felt sick to his stomach. These humans spoke so casually about death and destruction, as if it was just another engineering problem to solve. But the mathematics, protested Counselor Vex, his insect wings buzzing nervously. Creating stable warp fields requires precise calculations that take our computers years to complete. Who said anything about stable? Park grinned. Our fields are incredibly unstable. That's why they work. She pulled out a small device and projected a holographic image of their ship's engine system. It looked like chaos. Tubes and wires and nuclear reactors all connected in ways that made no sense. See? Everyone else tries to create perfect, stable warp bubbles, Park continued. But perfect stability requires massive amounts of energy and super advanced materials. We just let our bubble wobble and shake, then surf the instabilities. That should tear your ship apart, Dr. Yila whispered. Sometimes it does, Park said cheerfully. That's why we build everything extra strong and carry lots of spare parts. The third human, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke. His name was Dr. Marcus Rodriguez, and he served as their science officer. The real breakthrough came when we stopped trying to understand exactly how it works, he said. We just focused on making it work consistently. Myrex's mechanical voice sounded strained. You do not understand your own technology? Not completely, Rodriguez admitted. We know enough to build it and operate it safely. Full understanding can come later, after we've had more time to study it. Zethkari rubbed his blue-skinned forehead. In all his years of diplomacy, he had never encountered such an approach to technology. Every other species in the council had developed their advances slowly and carefully, understanding each step before moving to the next. "This is madness," Admiral Korth muttered. "Maybe," Captain Chen said with a smile, "but it's effective madness." Dr. Yila leaned forward. "But surely you must have some theoretical foundation, some mathematical framework." Rodriguez nodded. "Oh, we have theories. Lots of them. Most of them contradict each other." He activated his own holographic display, showing complex equations and diagrams. "Dr. Harrison's team thinks we're creating micro-wormholes," he explained. "Professor Kim believes we're sliding between dimensions. The folks at Beijing University insist we're actually traveling backwards in time and arriving before we left." "Which theory is correct?" Myrex asked. "Maybe all of them," Rodriguez shrugged. "Maybe none of them. As long as the engine works, we'll sort out the details eventually." The council members sat in stunned silence. This went against everything they understood about scientific progress. Counselor Vex finally found his voice. "How many ships have you built?" 47 so far, Captain Chen answered. "With 12 more under construction." 47? Zethkari's voice cracked. "In how long?" "The past 5 years," Chen said. "Once we proved the concept worked, we moved into mass production pretty quickly." Admiral Korth's 4 eyes narrowed. "Where are these other ships?" "Exploring mostly," Chen replied casually. "We've got teams mapping nearby star systems, looking for habitable worlds, making contact with other species." "Other species?" Dr. Yila interrupted. "You have made contact with others?" "Sure," Rodriguez said. "The Zentari were really friendly. Great musicians. The Klopek are a bit grumpy, but they make amazing tools. The Yifik collective was fascinating. They think as one giant mind." Park nodded enthusiastically. "And the Gordak teach us some interesting welding techniques. Very useful for ship repairs." The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. These species were all known to the council, but they existed in remote regions of space. Some had been observed but never contacted. Others had deliberately avoided council contact for centuries. "How many species have you encountered?" Zethkari asked weakly. "Let me think," Chen said, counting on her fingers. "Including you folks, about 15 so far. Maybe 16 if you count the energy beings near the galactic rim, though we're not sure they actually communicate in any way we can understand." "Energy beings?" Myrex asked. "Living balls of plasma that seem to have some kind of intelligence," Rodriguez explained. "They rearranged themselves into mathematical patterns when we approached, so we think they were trying to talk to us." Zethkari looked around the table at his fellow council members. Each face showed the same expression of complete bewilderment. The humans had accomplished more in 5 years than the council had in centuries. They had developed impossible technology, built dozens of ships, explored vast regions of space, and made contact with numerous species, all without anyone noticing until now. "There is one more thing," Captain Chen said, reaching into her bag. "We brought some gifts from our new friends." She pulled out various objects, crystalline art from the Zentari, metal sculptures from the Klopek, and small devices that hummed with unknown energy. "The Gordak wanted us to give you this," she said, handing Admiral Korth a beautifully crafted tool. "They said any advanced civilization should have proper equipment." Admiral Korth took the tool with trembling hands. It was clearly superior to anything in the Council's technology database. "How?" Zethkari whispered. "How is any of this possible?" Captain Chen smiled warmly. "I think it helps that we don't spend too much time worrying about whether something is possible or not. We just try it and see what happens." "But the risks," Dr. Yila protested. "The dangers?" "Sure, it's dangerous," Chen acknowledged. "But so is staying home and never trying anything new. We'd rather take some risks and discover amazing things than play it safe and miss out on all the wonders of the universe." She gestured around the chamber. "Like this, meeting all of you, learning about your cultures, sharing our experiences. None of this would be possible if we had stayed on Earth waiting for someone else to figure out space travel for us." Zethkari stared at the human captain. Her enthusiasm was infectious but also terrifying. These beings seemed to approach the universe with a combination of brilliance and recklessness that defied all logic. And somehow, impossibly, it was working. The emergency council session had been going for 6 hours. Ambassador Zethkari watched as his fellow council members paced around the chamber, their voices raised in heated debate. The humans had been escorted to guest quarters, giving the council time to discuss what they had learned. "This changes everything," Dr. Yila said, her plant-like form swaying with agitation. "They have completely bypassed our entire system of galactic development." Admiral Korth slammed one of his 4 fists on the table. "They are dangerous. Unstable technology, reckless exploration, no proper authority structure. They could destabilize the entire galaxy, or revolutionize it," Counselor Myrex said in his mechanical voice. "Their achievements are illogical but undeniably effective." Counselor Vex buzzed his wings nervously. "But they do not follow any proper protocols. They just go wherever they want, talk to whoever they meet, share technology freely. What if hostile species get their hands on these weapons?" "What weapons?" Dr. Yila asked. Admiral Korth activated the main display screen. "I had my security team scan their ship while they were in the meeting. Look at this." The screen showed detailed scans of the human vessel. Red warning symbols flashed all over the image. "Their defensive systems include nuclear warheads powerful enough to crack a moon," Admiral Korth continued. "Particle beam weapons that could slice through our best shields, and some kind of antimatter device that our sensors cannot fully identify." The room fell silent. Even the normally calm Myrex seemed disturbed by this information. "They said they only brought defensive equipment," Dr. Yila whispered. "Perhaps they were being honest," Zethkari said slowly. "To them, these might be defensive weapons. What kind of species needs moon-cracking bombs for defense?" Admiral Korth demanded. Before anyone could answer, the chamber door chimed. Captain Chen's voice came through the communication system. "Hello? Sorry to interrupt, but we heard raised voices and wanted to make sure everything was okay." The council members exchanged glances. They had been speaking in the secure chamber, using encrypted communications. How had the humans detected their conversation? Zethkari activated the door controls. Captain Chen entered, followed by Engineer Park and Dr. Rodriguez. They all looked concerned. "We did not mean to disturb you," Chen said, "but your station's acoustic systems are really interesting. Sound travels through the metal walls in fascinating patterns." "You were listening to our private discussion?" Admiral Korth growled, rising to his full impressive height. "Not intentionally," Park said quickly. "I was just studying how your architecture affects sound distribution. It is amazing engineering, but we could not help overhearing some of your concerns." Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward. "We understand you are worried about our technology and methods. Would it help if we explained more about how we approach these things?" Zethkari gestured for them to sit. "Please. We are trying to understand your species better." Captain Chen settled into a chair, still holding her ever-present cup of coffee. "What would you like to know?" "Your weapons," Admiral Korth said bluntly.
"Why do you carry such destructive devices?"
Chen looked genuinely confused. "Weapons? Oh, you mean our safety equipment." "Safety equipment?" Dr. Yila gasped. "You consider nuclear warheads to be safety equipment?" "Well, space is dangerous," Park explained. "We might encounter hostile aliens or need to clear asteroid fields or break up dangerous space debris. Better to be prepared." "But the antimatter device," Myrex said. "What possible defensive use could that have?" Rodriguez rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "Actually, that is more of a tool than a weapon. We use it to jumpstart our engines when they fail, or to clear blocked wormholes, or sometimes to provide emergency power." The council members stared at him in horror. "You use antimatter for routine maintenance?" Counselor Vex's voice was barely a whisper. "It is very efficient," Rodriguez said proudly. "Much better than carrying lots of heavy replacement parts." Zethkari felt a headache growing behind his eyes. "Do all human ships carry such equipment?" "Oh no," Chen said. "Exploration vessels like ours need extra safety gear. Military ships carry much more serious equipment." "Military ships?" Admiral Korth leaned forward dangerously. "Sure," Chen said casually. "Earth has enemies too. The Rizak Empire has been threatening our outer colonies, and there are always space pirates to worry about." "The Rizak Empire?" Dr. Yila looked shocked. "But they are one of the most aggressive species in the galaxy. How are you fighting them?" Park grinned. "Actually, we are not fighting them anymore. We convinced them to become allies instead." "How?" Myrex asked. "We showed them some of our music and art," Rodriguez explained. "Turns out they really love human jazz music. Now they trade with us instead of attacking our colonies." The council members sat in stunned silence. The Razak Empire had been a threat to galactic peace for over 200 years. Their warrior culture made them nearly impossible to negotiate with. Yet somehow the humans had turned them into allies using music. What about the space pirates? Admiral Korth asked weakly. Oh, that was easier, Chen said. We just hired them. Hired them? They were only pirates because they could not find honest work, Park explained. We offered them jobs as security escorts for our trade convoys. Much better pay, and they get to keep flying around space. Zethkari rubbed his temples harder. You turned pirates into security guards? Former pirates make excellent security. Rodriguez nodded. They know how pirates think, so they are very good at stopping them. Dr. Yila's plant-like body was trembling. This is all impossible. You cannot simply solve complex galactic problems with music and job offers. Why not? Chen asked innocently. Most problems happen because people want something they do not have. Give them what they want and the problem often goes away. But there are proper procedures, Counselor Vex protested. Diplomatic protocols, trade negotiations, military alliances. These things take years to arrange. That seems really slow, Park said. Why not just talk to people directly and see what they need? Admiral Korth was pacing back and forth, his forearms waving in frustration. Because there are rules, orders, chains of command. You cannot just approach random species and start making deals. We are not making random deals, Rodriguez said calmly. We research each species first, learn about their culture and needs, then approach them respectfully. In a few weeks? Dr. Yila asked. Sometimes a few days, Chen admitted. Humans are pretty good at understanding other people quickly. Myrex's robot head tilted as he processed this information. Your success rate with first contact is 100%. No species has rejected your diplomatic overtures or responded with hostility. Well, there was that one incident with the Grex Confederation, Park said, but that was just a misunderstanding about food preferences. What happened? Zethkari asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know. We offered them some of our coffee as a friendship gift, Rodriguez explained. But caffeine is highly toxic to their species. They thought we were trying to poison them. How did you resolve that? Dr. Yila whispered. We apologized and offered to help them develop better coffee substitutes, Chen said. Now they make the best decaffeinated beverages in the galaxy. Very popular trade item. Admiral Korth stopped pacing and stared at her. You turned a diplomatic incident into a trade opportunity. Mistakes happen, Chen shrugged. The important thing is learning from them and making things better. Zethkari looked around at his fellow council members. Each face showed the same expression of complete bewilderment that he felt. These humans were rewriting every rule of galactic civilization. They solved problems that had existed for centuries. They made friends with enemies. They turned accidents into opportunities, and they did it all with an enthusiasm that was both inspiring and terrifying. There is one more thing we need to discuss, he said slowly. The Council has certain procedures for integrating new species into galactic civilization. There are tests, evaluations, probationary periods, and Captain Chen held up her hand. Actually, we probably should mention something about that. She looked at her companions, who both nodded encouragingly. We have kind of already started setting up our own galactic network, she said. Nothing official, just informal cooperation agreements with the species we have met. The council chamber fell completely silent. What kind of network? Zethkari asked in a voice barely above a whisper. Trade routes, communication systems, mutual defense pacts, Park listed. Cultural exchange programs, scientific cooperation, resource sharing. You have created your own galactic government? Admiral Korth's voice was hollow with shock. Oh no, Chen said quickly. Nothing that formal. We just help coordinate between species that want to work together. Very casual. Dr. Rodriguez pulled out a small device and activated a holographic display. It showed a three-dimensional map of local space with glowing lines connecting dozens of star systems. This is our current cooperation network, he explained. 23 species, 47 star systems, over 300 individual worlds. Zethkari stared at the map. The human network covered nearly a quarter of known space. It included species the Council had never successfully contacted, worlds they had never explored, and trade routes they had never imagined. The council chamber had never been so quiet. For 3 days, the most powerful beings in the galaxy had debated what to do about the humans. Ambassador Zethkari looked around the table at faces showing exhaustion, confusion, and something that might have been fear. Outside the chamber, Captain Chen and her crew waited patiently in their guest quarters. Apparently unconcerned about the intense discussions happening around them, they spent their time exploring the station, making friends with the staff, and somehow managing to improve several critical systems that had been malfunctioning for years. "We cannot ignore this any longer," Dr. Yila said, her plant-like form drooping with fatigue. "They have fundamentally changed the balance of power in the galaxy." Admiral Korth nodded grimly. "My intelligence reports confirm their claims. Human ships have been spotted in over 50 star systems. They have established colonies on 17 worlds, and their informal alliance network grows larger every day. The mathematical implications are staggering," Counselor Myrex added, his robot voice unusually subdued. "At their current rate of expansion, they will contact every known species in the galaxy within 20 years. Counselor Vex buzzed his wings nervously. "And they will do it all without asking anyone's permission or following any established protocols." Zethkari studied the holographic display showing human activity across local space. Ships marked with Earth symbols moved along trade routes that had not existed a year ago. Worlds that had been isolated for centuries were now part of a growing network of cooperation and exchange. "The question is," he said slowly, "what do we do about it?" "We could demand they stop," Admiral Korth suggested. "Require them to follow proper procedures, respect council authority." "With what enforcement power?" Dr. Yila asked. "Their technology may be crude, but it is effective. And they have allies now." Myrex's mechanical head turned toward the Admiral. "Additionally, their approach has been more successful than our own methods. Logical analysis suggests we should be learning from them, not stopping them." "Learn from chaos?" Admiral Korth's four eyes narrowed. "They have no organization, no planning, no proper authority structure. Yet they have achieved more in 5 years than we have in centuries," Zethkari pointed out. The chamber door chimed softly. Captain Chen's voice came through the communication system. "As cheerful as always. Sorry to bother you folks, but there is something we should probably tell you about." Zethkari activated the door controls. The three humans entered, but this time they were not alone. Behind them came representatives from several other species. A Zentari musician with crystalline skin, a gruff Klopek engineer, and two others that Zethkari did not recognize. "We brought some friends," Captain Chen announced. "They wanted to meet you." The Zentari stepped forward, her crystal body ringing like musical chimes as she moved. "Honored council members," she sang in their harmonic language, "we come to express gratitude for humanity's friendship and to support their application for galactic citizenship." "Application?" Zethkari blinked in confusion. "What application?" Dr. Rodriguez pulled out a datapad. "We prepared the paperwork while we were waiting. Standard forms for species requesting membership in galactic civilization." He handed the pad to Zethkari, who stared at it in amazement. The application was perfectly filled out, complete with detailed information about human culture, technology, and intentions. It even included proper references from other species. "But you have already established your own network," Dr. Yila protested. "Why do you want to join the council?" "Because we think you folks are doing important work," Captain Chen said simply. "Sure, your methods are different from ours, but you have maintained peace and stability for thousands of years." "That is impressive." Engineer Park nodded enthusiastically. "Plus, you have amazing libraries and databases. We would love access to all that accumulated knowledge." The Klopek engineer, a stocky being with thick gray skin, spoke in his species' growling language. Captain Chen translated. "Gronak says that the Council's legal frameworks are very sophisticated, much better than the informal agreements we have been using. He thinks combining Council structure with human innovation could benefit everyone." Admiral Korth looked suspicious. "What exactly are you proposing?" "A partnership," Dr. Rodriguez said. "Not replacing the Council, but working alongside it. You provide the legal frameworks, the established procedures, the long-term stability. We provide, well, whatever it is we do." "Chaos," Admiral Korth muttered. "Creative problem-solving," Chen corrected with a smile. One of the unknown aliens, a tall being with silver skin and large eyes, spoke in accented council standard. "I am Ambassador Thex of the Outer Rim Alliance. My people have watched the Council for many centuries but never felt ready to join. The humans have shown us that readiness is not required. Willingness is enough." Zethkari felt his world shifting again. "You represent how many species?" 17 with more considering membership, Thex replied. The human example has inspired many isolationist species to reconsider their positions. The second unknown alien, covered in scales with multiple tentacle arms, added, the hegemony of free traders wishes to establish formal relations as well. Human trade networks have shown us the benefits of larger cooperation. Counselor Vex's wings buzzed frantically. This is moving too fast. We have procedures for integrating new species. Tests, evaluations, probationary periods. Why? Captain Chen asked innocently. Because. Vex paused, struggling to find an answer. Because that is how it has always been done. But is it the best way? Park pressed. How long does the average species take to become full council members? Myrex ran quick calculations. The current average is 237 years from first contact to full membership. That seems really long, Rodriguez said. What if you could do it faster while still maintaining quality and safety? Dr. Yila's plant form swayed uncertainly. But without proper evaluation periods, how would we know if a species is ready for galactic citizenship? The Zentari's crystal body chimed softly. Perhaps the question is not whether we are ready for you, but whether you are ready for us. Zethkari looked around the chamber. The formal council meeting had become something entirely different. Representatives from dozens of species filled the room, all brought together by humanity's infectious enthusiasm for cooperation. You are suggesting we change our entire system of galactic governance, he said slowly. Not change, Captain Chen said. Expand. Keep what works, add what might work better. Admiral Korth crossed his forearms. And if it fails? If this chaos destroys the stability we have built, then we try something else, Chen replied simply. But what if it succeeds? What if we create something better than what existed before? The chamber fell silent as everyone considered her words. Zethkari looked at the holographic displays showing human activity across the galaxy. Trade routes, communication networks, cultural exchanges, scientific cooperation, all of it happening naturally, without central planning or rigid control. There is one more thing, Dr. Rodriguez said quietly. We have been monitoring communications from across the galaxy. Other species have heard about what is happening here. He activated a new, holographic display showing signal intercepts from distant star systems, primitive. Species are beginning their own space programs, he continued. Isolationist civilizations are sending out exploration ships. Even some of the hostile empires are reconsidering their positions. The humans have started something that cannot be stopped, Thex observed. The question is whether the Council will lead this change or be overwhelmed by it. Zethkari closed his eyes and thought about his long career in diplomacy. Centuries of careful negotiations, formal protocols, and gradual progress. It had worked, but it had also been frustratingly slow. He opened his eyes and looked at Captain Chen, still holding her coffee cup and smiling hopefully. If we accept your application, he said carefully, would you agree to work within Council frameworks when possible? Absolutely, Chen nodded. As long as the frameworks are flexible enough to allow for innovation. And would you share your technologies and methods with other Council species? Of course, that is what friends do. And would you help us develop new procedures for integrating species more quickly and effectively? Park's eyes lit up with excitement. That sounds like an amazing project. Zethkari looked around at his fellow council members one last time. Dr. Yila was nodding slowly. Counselor Vex had stopped buzzing his wings and seemed thoughtful. Even Admiral Korth looked resigned to the inevitable. Only Myrex seemed completely certain. Logical analysis indicates that cooperation with humanity will produce superior outcomes to opposition or isolation. Very well, Zethkari said, standing from his chair. The Council officially accepts Earth's application for membership. Welcome to galactic civilization. Captain Chen jumped up and shook his hand enthusiastically. This is fantastic. We have so many ideas for improvements and new programs and cultural exchanges. As the chamber erupted in celebration, Zethkari couldn't help but smile. The careful order that had governed the galaxy for thousands of years was about to change dramatically. But perhaps, he thought as he watched humans and aliens embracing and making immediate plans for cooperation, change was exactly what the galaxy needed.